Hello and welcome back to Weston the Historian. Today I'm actually going off script because I just was thinking about this the other day and I wanted to talk about it. So the other day I was talking to a friend of mine and he was telling me that he went to a bookstore and he saw a book by Nietzsche. I think it was Beyond Good and Evil, he said. And I asked him why he didn't buy it. And he said something along the lines of, I didn't want my introduction to philosophy to be a nihilist. Now, I thought this was such a funny thing to say because, if you look into the philosophy of Nietzsche, obviously he wasn't a nihilist. But then I realized, this isn't it's not necessarily common knowledge, oh, Nietzsche wasn't a nihilist. Most people who know anything about Nietzsche will assume that he is a nihilist because of his quote, oh, God is dead and we killed him, blah, blah, blah. So people just assume from that quote alone, oh, he's a nihilist. But if you actually understand, or if you have ever looked into Nietzsche's works, you'll understand this just isn't the case. Because Friedrich Nietzsche was actually a reaction to nihilism. Nihilism was this philosophy of nothingness, the belief that ultimately nothing was worthwhile. There's no objective truth, no objective values, morals. Life isn't meaningful. There's nothing higher. We're all just a bunch of monkeys, floating around on a ball in space. But a lot of philosophers around this time that nihilism was rising up in 19th century Europe, you see a lot of philosophers going against that. You see, of course, Schopenhauer, who was, out of all of the people going against nihilism, he's probably the closest to a nihilist. He was a pessimist, which is just a less, it's not nearly as extreme of a pessimism as that of a nihilist, but he is still oh, life sucks. That's basically his philosophy summed up in 2 words. It's, of course, much deeper than that. But since we are talking about Nietzsche, Nietzsche reacted against nihilism in the sense that he did actually believe, as the nihilists believe, oh, God is dead. He wrote this in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, God is dead and we killed him. And what he meant by this was that objective religion in society is dead. People don't believe in religion anymore. And as a result, any belief in higher ideals or greater spiritual truth or anything like that is meaningless now. And we live in a society which is fairly meaningless. However, nihilism, a nihilist would say, well, that's the end of it. Nothing matters. And Nietzsche actually would disagree with that because he uses nihilism in that sense, but that is not his end. He does not say, well, everything sucks, nothing matters, do whatever you want. That's not his philosophy. His philosophy goes against that. It goes, well, yeah, there is no objective truth. So we need new people, what he calls Übermensch, to rise up and take over society, I suppose you could say. People who can rise up above the herd and above the masses and basically create their own values and their own morality and their own sort of belief system and new civilization. So it's not nihilism. That is not nihilism, because if it was nihilism, he would not be arguing that we need a new group of people to create a new civilization and new morals and new values and all this. What he is arguing is just we need to discard the past and just move on and create something new. And I would partially, being a Christian, I would disagree with Friedrich Nietzsche's assertions that we need to reject any notion of God or anything like that. But I do find it interesting because he still has a very, I don't know if life affirming is the right term, but I'm going to use that term. a sort of philosophy which it has like this almost pessimistic view that, oh well, current society is meaningless and a lot of these things are dead. But he seems to have this optimistic view that if we just get the right people to do the right things, then everything's going to go all right. But he also has a more pessimistic view of the last man, but that's not really the topic of today's video, so I'm not going to talk much about it. But this was a rush video. I didn't script any of this. This was just me talking. If you are actually watching to the end, I want to thank you for listening to me. But that will be all. I will see you all next time.